Hey, beautiful souls. It's Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and it is time to vibe with your tribe as we review the top events that played out over the past week, along with how they may relate to past predictions, and of course, with new predictions to help you feed that prediction addiction, baby. So today we are going to discuss the incoming energies and how they are going to affect things in the coming week, including large waves of energy that once again began hitting our planet yesterday, last night, and today. You should feel that energy pretty intensely today. The sun's activity continues to unleash intense energies that are guaranteed to bring more great changes, more revealing truths, and so much more in the coming month, and of course in the coming months until we conclude this year, 2025. So when I mention weather modification, are you one of those to scream conspiracy? Quite a few have anytime I've covered the subject in the past. The majority of us, of course, know the truth. And now, the state of Florida, hallelujah, is stepping in with this same truth. It gets even better than that. Not only is Florida stepping in with the truth of this weather modification, they're also stepping in with a newly voted in legislative bill to stop weather modification. Yes, indeed, friends. This is exciting news. Go Florida. Go friends in Florida. And you're going to want to hear all about this today, friends, along with how this is actually going to play out and affect the rest of us. And I got some really wild information for you today when it comes to this whole modification thing and the whole weather, the climate, so much more. Now, something very strange that played out over the past week and also aligns with the prophecy of the indigenous natives. This is a creepy one, friends. They spoke, the natives, that is, the indigenous native elders, spoke of a time in the future when ancient creatures would roam the earth once again. Sound a little familiar? Because it just so happens that you're going to want to know that that ancient creature, well, one of them has returned. I'm sure you might have saw some of this or saw part of this or maybe saw all of it, and some of you might not have known at all. That a group, a organization, cloned the first dire wolf, with plans, of course, to clone other ancient creatures. This is not at all a good sign for humanity, friends, and I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to explain exactly what the indigenous natives warned about this point in the future, and this was hundreds of years ago, and it's now happening. Crazy times indeed, friends, crazy times. Now, there is a whole bunch of talk, speaking of crazy, that April 20th, 420, which actually happens to be Easter Sunday, that the President of the United States is going to declare martial law. But why are such claims going viral all over the internet? April 20th, again, would be Easter Sunday, a date that I spoke of actually in past predictions. A date that I said in my April forecast would be a date of great significance. Could this be part of that significance? And also in past predictions, I spoke of a future martial law coming to several countries, including the United States. We did see this play out after I made that prediction right away in South Korea. Is the United States next? And is there any truth behind this April 20th martial law? You're going to want to hear about that. You're also going to want to hear, well, you already heard, this is all you're hearing, is that there's just more tariff drama. More tariff drama, while more tariff U-turns are taking place, and China, of course, keeps resisting, fighting back, and at the same time, China and Japan both started dumping major amounts of American bonds. It's not looking very good for the economy, friends, especially here in the United States, and also in China, but really for the entire world. While once again, we see gold rising to an all-time high, just as Spirit said would continue to happen. So much today to discuss, friends, including these incoming energies and the intense week that lies ahead of us. The large die-off of honeybees, another sign of the times to come for sure. A Christian preacher was kidnapped right after we touched base on that prediction about a week or two ago. Attacks on leaders, the tragic helicopter crash and plane incidents in the world just seems to continue to keep getting madder and madder, friends. So get that tea kettle ready, friends. It's time to feed that prediction addiction on this episode number 162 of Tittel Teatime, baby. Speaking of tea, I got my good tea going on here. I hope you got your tea going. Although, if you're watching in America, it's probably a little too late to have tea unless you're having some chamomile tea or some caffeine-free tea. But once again, good day to you all, beautiful friends, and welcome to the midpoint of April 2025. As we continue to get pounded with more energies being unleashed from the sun in this solar maximum window of time that continues throughout this whole entire year, 2025, into early 2026, according to Spirit, bringing in more and more of these awakening cycles, which is also, opens us all up to new opportunity, new inventions, new innovations, cures, and the list just keeps going on and on, friends. So they are exciting times, even though it may not look it or feel it for some. Now, the power of the sun is so, of course, misconstrued. It has been in today's society, where we are told that, don't get too much sun, don't be out in the sun, don't get too much sun, it's not good for us. Yeah, right, we hear that way too much. We didn't hear that when we were kids. When we were kids, we ran around with no shirts on, running around in the sun all day long in the summertime. But now they tell us, it causes toxic diseases such as melanonin, when reality is more likely that the toxic chemicals that are in those lotions that people lather all over their bodies before going out into the sun and allowing that lathered solution to bake right into their skin. Now, the ancient people, they worshiped the sun, of course. The ancient tribes lived and worked in the sun all day long. Farmers in the sun all day long. And they didn't have those issues back in those days. Melatonin, none of that. Now, the day that we call Sunday, of course, is named after the sun. Sunday. Just like the Monday is named after the moon. Now, the sun, of course, was greatly worshipped by the ancient Egyptians, along with their sun god, the ancient god Horus, who I have tattooed over here on my arm. The ancient god, sun god Horus, who gave birth to the morning. That's what the ancient Egyptians believed. That's what Horus was all about. That's where we get the term horizon. Horus, rising up, horizon. Think about that. Interesting. Horus was the birth of the sun god, born perhaps on Sunday, maybe. There again, they changed the calendar and changed everything since then. The same day, though, Sunday, that current worshipers worship the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Isn't that interesting? I don't believe in coincidences, but I just thought that was really interesting. I had to throw that in there about the beautiful sun. Every ancient culture share a similar story of a virgin birth and resurrection. A resurrection of the sun being born from the darkness, referred to by the ancient Egyptians as the god of darkness, who was Set, the evil god of darkness. Very likely, this is where we got the term sunset. It's likely, no doubt. Sunset is when the sun goes down, Horus goes into the night, and Set rises up. Sunset. Interesting. And they also believed in the ancient Egyptian culture that that's when Horus met his evil brother along the boundary lines, the sunset and the horizon. That's fascinating. I like to fascinate and educate you whenever I can. Aside from the energy hits that are coming in from our sun, we also just celebrated over the weekend the full moon in the sign of Libra, stepping us into this amazing waning moon cycle. The waning moon cycle is a great cycle for healing. It's all about letting go of things, friends. This is the time to stop a habit, an addiction, a pattern, to clean out some of the clutter in your closet or your car, and so on. This is the time, this next few weeks. The same day that we had that full moon come in the sign of Libra, we also had Venus going direct in Pisces, which is igniting this whole heart-opening moment for humanity. And we sure do need some heart openers. Some people more than others, I'm sure you'll agree. But that's what this is. This is a heart-opening window of time for all of us. And at least the energies have lightened up quite a bit since what we experienced back in the month of March. I think you would agree with that as well. Told you it would lighten up a bit. It's kind of, the quiet before the next big storms come setting in. Now, tomorrow, on the 16th, the planet Mercury is going to enter the sign of Aries. And this hopefully is going to be a time where your ADHD and ADD and all that calms down quite a bit, which was off the charts over the weekend. I'm sure you had noticed that as well. And we're going to begin to actually gain more mental clarity as of tomorrow. So again, those thoughts in your mind will settle down a bit. You'll become a little bit more focused, hopefully a lot more focused. A bit, hopefully a whole lot, actually. But we will begin to gain more mental clarity starting tomorrow. And this is also when communications are going to turn into no-nonsense communications. No-nonsense communications. And which, will play out, of course, in the public. And public discourse that we see is going to reflect this very, very strongly with this no-nonsense communication, which can be good. And, of course, like anything else, it could have some of its bad sides to it, too, as well, right? It's a window of time where we are going to see more and more folks, whether they be leaders, whether they be influencers, or even the media, speaking out very, very strongly. So look for that over the next week. Very strongly. Sometimes, again, for the better, and sometimes for the worse. This brings with it a whole lot of controversial decisions being made and rules being put into place. Like we don't have enough rules in place already. Certainly a time where folks need to be, people are going to say what needs to be said. And again, this could be good or this could be bad. Not everyone is open to what other people need to say, especially when it comes to speaking truth. So it should be interesting over the next few weeks for sure. Especially coming up on the 18th of April, we have Mars entering into Leo. And this is going to be a time where the warrior heart truly begins to open up and awaken. This alignment and energy is going to ignite courage. It's going to ignite leadership. And it's going to ignite expressive powers. And it's also going to ignite more big protests, more big things like that. Because this is a time when Mars enters Leo that people, again, they're warrior hearts. And warriors want to, resist. They want to battle. And that's what this would unleash. Quiet down with the protests over the past weekend. It was the previous weekend that we talked about it last week's show. All the major people all over the city, especially here in the United States. Past week died out, but coming up by the end of the month, I'm going to say it's going to get real, especially even on this coming weekend with the 20th and Easter and all that. And then again, the 18th when Mars enters Leo. You're going to notice that people are going to become more confident, which again could be good or it could be bad. Because some people could become overconfident, maybe even assertive and overconfident with ego. We don't like that. But you'll notice that happening starting this weekend and next week. It's going to be interesting. And it's going to bring about probably a lot more Karen adventures to the stage, if you know what I mean. Whole bunch of Karen adventures. Whole bunch. Now, the Mars in Leo is a very powerful manifestation time. It's a manifesting energy, so be sure, friends, to take advantage of this. Whether you're manifesting a brand, whether you're launching a new project, or stepping into the spotlight in some form or another. This is basically your green light to go, baby. Go, baby. You go with your badass self, friends. You go with your badass self. Oh my God, did he just say that? Yes, I did. So the unfortunate aspect of this alignment is that we will all also begin to see militaries wanting to flex their muscles. Now, we saw Iran do that by giving us little views of their underground tunnels and all the weapons that they had stored. That was them flexing their muscles, saying to America, go ahead, make a move. And that would be a very, very bad move for America to begin with. Because the United States hasn't won a war since when? Any of them? No. We lost all those last ones. Vietnam, all of them. Lost them all. We're going to lose that one too? Let's not go into that one. But we will see a lot of these militaries begin to flex their muscles, showing displays of strength. You'll probably see Russia and maybe even China do one of their little military parades to flex their muscles. Look for that, especially China with the way things are going right now with the tariff conflicts. Yeah, China's likely going to put on a big parade, flexing all their muscles and showing off all their missiles and such. Likely also, I would say North Korea just popped in my brain, so they'll be flexing their muscles over the next few weeks too, showing their displays of strength. Literally and symbolically. And we will likely see a lot more celebrities in the news, speaking out in ways that, again, could be for good, while some will be not for so good. Now, following the Mars and Leo on April 18th, we're going to see the Sun entering Taurus the very next day on April 19th, which will welcome in this more of a stabilizing energy, more help us get more stabilized, get more of a foundation down, a feel of being a little bit more grounded, because like especially with the full moon past weekend, you were probably very flighty, all over the place. Again, ADHD, ADD, or whatever you want to label it as. Too many labels in this world, but whatever label you decide to use. Now, when April 19th comes in, that will help, again, really give us more stability, more grounding energy. It's going to be a great time for you to focus on stability, especially with it being backed by this 4 universal month that we're in numerology. Because the 4 is also about stability and structure, the 4 vibration. So this alignment comes in perfect timing because it's backed by that 4 vibration. So get out there, build a brand, build whatever it is you want to build in your life. This is the time to get the stability to do so. And this is when we're going to begin to see more focus when it comes to real estate. Real estate and environmental legislation being put into place. Kind of like what we're going to talk about today with Florida. Environmental legislation. Florida is just the start. Just the start. We just saw a ban in Utah on fluoride in the water. These are great times, friends. Great times for these truths to be released and for us to move and shift towards a more healthy environment. Healthy food, healthy environment. So also I would tell you to expect another big, huge shift around the economy over the next week. And discussions of new banking reforms going into place. Whatever they may be. Of course, it's going to benefit the bankers and not us. This would also be an amazing time when we begin seeing more grounded spiritual practices and tones of earth-based wisdom and healing truly beginning to take momentum. Something we definitely need. We're already seeing that happen. You see more spiritual-related podcasts and natural healing practices, and even the preppers that are doing homestead stuff becoming more and more popular, gaining much more momentum. Well, we're going to see all this really gaining momentum over the next few weeks when these alignments kick in. Excuse me. You'll also see more and more videos, again, podcasts, and folks simply having discussions about earth-based wisdom. Folks becoming unplugged from the grid or the grids, whatever that may be. And you're going to see more folks turning towards gardening. Remember, Spirit told us that a long time ago. Well, it told me probably 15 years ago. Actually, even when I first started doing predictions. In the future, we'd be pulled together in community. We would be basically forced to grow our own food, but want to grow our own food. So it's almost like being forced, but wanting to do so too. And we see that happening, friends. We see that happening already. We're going to see that happening even more so in the near future. People, especially now, it's springtime, friends, get out there and garden, grow something. Put some tomatoes in a pot and grow them in your house. You'd be surprised what you can grow in your house in a little pot. Some lettuce, if you like salads or whatever. You'd be surprised. You don't need a whole lot of room to grow a couple plants. You can even grow sweet potatoes in a big pot. I did that last year. Didn't get a whole lot of them as I would in the garden, but I'm going to grow more in a pot this year too. Gives us more potatoes. Sweet potatoes, my favorite. So we're going to see people becoming again unplugged, gardening, and coming together in communities. Something that Spirit says is going to continue, that we're going to see taking place all across the globe. Something we, again, now witness blooming already, kind of like the blooming of a new flower, right? It's smelling so good, friends. So good. Beautiful tribe, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hey, welcome to the channel. We welcome you with open air hugs here, Team Spirit and I, and the rest of the tribe. And if you are new here and you want the most accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, you want to vibe with this awesome tribe that's growing greatly, smash that subscribe, the bell, and all so that you get notifications. Also, please, show your love. Lots of time, lots of energy, and lots of meditation. So much goes into one podcast you couldn't even imagine. Most people don't. It's a lot of time. So all I ask is that you please click that thumbs up love button. It gets this out to more people. It will help this kind of content show up on your feed so you get more content like this. Doesn't have to be from this channel. Could be other channels. And it helps our tribe to grow. Down below in the description, you can find all the links to my social media. You can find me on Spotify, Rumble, and other platforms, including the monthly forecast and this podcast each and every Tuesday. Tuesday's Tittel Teatime. You got your tea brewed, friends? Be sure to sign up for the free newsletter below. And please don't email my office asking us to put you on the list. We can't do that. You have to sign up directly yourself at the newsletter. You can open up the newsletter down below at the top corner. You'll see, the link to open up and subscribe to the newsletter. You can also go directly to the website, subscribe there. And you can find anything, information about myself, sessions and what have you on my website directly. Joseph Tittel, Tittel.com or spiritmanjt.com. And please know that I will never send you messages on any social media platform, ever. So if you get a message that appears to be me with a profile that appears to be me, it is not me. Report that profile immediately. The only contact you'll get from me is directly from my office. Directly, no social media platform. And if you have something to share, information, stories, please leave them in the comments below. Also, do not send them to the office. They're going to get deleted, not paid attention to. So please just leave them down below in the comments because I look at everything in those comments. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you leaving a comment, even if it's a little emoji. That also helps the channel to grow. Anything else? I think that's it. Let us move on to episode 162 of Tea Time, baby. The first hot topic of today is, of course, the modification of our systems. The ones that bring weather and even earthquakes. According to Team Spirit, weather wars are already occurring on our planet. The majority of folks are just not aware of this. That's all. Spirit says that China has already used it against enemies. United States used it going back as far as the Vietnam War. And this is proven, friends, where it was, of course, later admitted that they used it. And they even bragged about how successful it was. The U.S. military, the U.S. Navy, had a program called Operation or Project Popeye. Like Popeye the Sailor Man. Of course. That's the U.S. Navy. And this is where the U.S. Navy used cloud seeding techniques to flood out the tunnels of the Vietnamese during the Vietnam conflict. So now, friends, imagine the technologies that they have today. Mind-blowing, I'm sure. Mind-blowing. And we could even look at this very riveting evidence right off the state government's website right here. You'll see towards the very bottom where it states, during the test phase, more than 50 cloud seeding experiments were conducted. These results are viewed by DoD as outstandingly successful. They bragged about it in 1967, friends. It's funny because, on countless occasions, when I have mentioned weather modification or, the streams above us in the skies, many folks yelled, "You're a conspiracy theorist." The majority of us now know the truth about this. And there it is right there in front of your faces, friends, going back to 1967. And again, Imagine what technology they have now. What, 60 years later? Almost 60 years later? Yeah, they're way advanced. And while for those who still do believe that it might be a conspiracy of some sort, then explain to me and the rest of this tribe why the state of Florida is stepping in with this truth of weather modification. With its new legislative bill, HB 477. That's Harold Barry 477, which was passed unanimously on April 1st in Florida. This is truly a big deal, friends. Go Florida. Go DeSantis. Yes. I want you as my president. Although in the state of Montana, they voted a similar bill, but of course they voted it out because Montana wants to continue to poison the land, the water, the creatures, and all of you that live in Montana. And, the rest of us and the rest of the world too, because they're doing it everywhere just about. I remember when I was in Peru for 2 weeks back in 2018, and that did not exist in the skies in Peru at all. When I asked and we talked about it, they were like, no, they don't allow that in this country. I don't know if they do now. I'll find out when I go back to Peru later this year. Can't wait. That'll be exciting. So now, how do you think this is actually affecting our planet? Think about it. Humans and all the creatures on the earth. The plants, the waters, everything. They're going to claim that it's not having any effect. They're going to claim that it's doing more good because it's blocking out the sun to stop the warming or whatever claims they make. And I remember when I lived in Pennsylvania and they released the quarterly water report that was required in the township that I lived in. Now here we have aquifer water, thank God. No chlorine. Well, there is chlorine, unfortunately, but no chemicals, no fluoride, none of that. It's the way to go. And I get all my drinking water from right out of the natural spring up the road. It's a wonderful thing. I feel so blessed by that. But how do you think this is affecting everything? Because, again, they claim that it is not. And I remember when they did release that quarterly report, that water report in Bristol Township, Levittown, Pennsylvania, I remember I looked at that report when it came purposely because it lists all the stuff that's in the water that shouldn't be in the water. Now, they won't list fluoride and they won't list chlorine because they expect you to know that it's in the water already. But they have to list all the heavy metals, everything that they find in the water that shouldn't be. Or whatever, parts per billion are in the water. And I remember when I looked at that, the two main pollutants that were in the water in Bristol Township, Pennsylvania, was aluminum and barium. Two top ones. I forget what the parts per billion were, but it was a lot. And those same chemicals that experts claim is what they spray and the toxicity that's falling down upon us and falling down on the earth. It makes total sense, friends. It makes total sense. When you look up what they put into that, the stratospheric aerosol injection, they're the two main components, aluminum, barium, and I can't remember what the others are, but they're the two main components. And if it's dropping down on us, it's in the water, and of course it would have high amounts in the water that should not be there. There should not be high amounts of aluminum or barium in your public drinking water. But there was in Bristol Township. Just saying. Crazy. So at the same time, when I lived in Pennsylvania, I'm a big gardener here, as you know. Love my gardens. And I noticed there were no honeybees. I remember calling my friend Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl, did you notice there ain't no honeybees? Sure there is. I'm like, I'm telling you, there's no honeybees. She didn't believe me. And then maybe 2 weeks later, she called me up. Have you noticed there isn't any honeybees? I'm like, didn't I tell you that? I told you that. And I had to go out with a small paintbrush to pollinate all my flowers for my vegetables in Levittown, Pennsylvania. Because there were no honeybees at all. Now, there's other things that do pollinate your flowers. Actually, wasps do, because I used to see wasps in my garden all the time. I'm like, why are they always in the garden? They pollinate the flowers, but they're not there to pollinate. They actually come and eat the alphites. There's little microscopic bugs. And in the turn, they pollinate things. And there's a lot of other things that do that too. But I still had to pollinate my stuff. Thankfully, here we have tons and tons of honeybees. Well, I don't know about this year. The year's just kicked off. But I've seen a lot already. As a matter of fact, a tree down the street, I remember about a month ago, it was the only tree with flowers, and when you stood under it, it sounded like you were under a beehive, which is so freaking cool. Like, have you ever had that where there's so many, like thousands of them, and you're underneath? It just literally sounds like you're standing in a beehive. So freaking cool. And, that frequency vibration is a healing frequency vibration, too. Bees are amazing. Honeybees are amazing. Nature is amazing. But how do you think this is, again, affecting them and everything else by spraying and destroying our planet? I want you to take a look at this latest report. And I want you to tell me why you think this is happening. And if you think it is all associated with that stratospheric aerosol injection. Check out this very disturbing report.
The beekeeping industry is in crisis over the shocking and unexplained deaths of hundreds of millions of bees over the last 8 months. Now, this could impact all of the U.S. as bees, called the backbone of agriculture, are responsible for pollinating, get this, more than a third of the nation's crops. CBS's Janet Shamlian in Savoy, Texas, has the story.
This is what an unfolding disaster looks like in the U.S. beekeeping industry. Each of these hives can hold as many as 80,000 bees, but for reasons no one can pinpoint, the bees in all these hives and tens of thousands more have turned up dead.
Have you ever seen it this bad?
Never, not even close. The data is showing us that this is the worst bee loss in recorded history.
Blake Shook is one of the nation's top beekeepers. He owns Desert Creek Honey and several other beekeeping businesses.
If this is a multi-year thing, it'll change the way we consume food in the United States.
That's a pretty significant statement.
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, if we lose 80% of our bees every year, the industry cannot survive, which means we cannot pollinate at the scale that we need to produce food in the United States.
Bees play a critical role in U.S. food production. In addition to making honey, they pollinate 75% of the fruits, nuts, and vegetables grown in the U.S. That's $15 billion worth of crops.
This is both tragic and deeply, deeply saddening. So, what do you think is causing it? Honestly, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think is really causing this to happen? Because they will never freely tell us what the truth is. Of course, they're not going to tell us what the truth is. No doubt. And no doubt that the chemicals and the heavy metals that are falling down upon us is obviously what's killing these honeybees. And God knows what else. I'm sure there's other things that go to it too. Spirit shows me the high vibrations of things like the cell phone towers is also having an effect on the bees. Likely why we didn't see any bees when I was in Pennsylvania, because it's too close to the city. Too many cell phone towers. I didn't think of that before. That's what Spirit just said to me. It's not just the spray. It's actually also the vibrations and frequencies coming off these towers and off of the, what do you call them? The weather tower things. NRAD or whatever it's called. Yeah, so that's what Spirit shows me. I wasn't expecting that. I thought I was just going to blame it all on the stratospheric aerosol injection. But apparently there's more to it, according to the spirits. It's good to have them around. Thanks, Team Spirit. We love you. So, this is somewhat scary, friends. For without the honeybee and other pollinators, because there's other pollinators too, like you got the fruit bats that do the fruit trees, and there are other pollinators. But honeybees are number one. And without them, we have no food. None, friends. None. What, are you going to send people out into the fields to pollinate the flowers? Good luck with that. Good luck with that one. And likely, there would be no bugs for you to eat. Yeah, because they'd all be wiped out. If there's no bees, eventually all the other bugs are going to go too. Just a thought. Now, what do you think about this? What if the recent whistleblower, yeah, you saw this, I think it was last year, who was, of course, completely criticized and called a liar. What if he's actually telling the truth? According to Florida and even the former head of the CIA, who spoke about stratospheric aerosol injection. You can go look it up. It was on C-SPAN, or SAIs for short. Listen to this, while keeping in mind at the same time, at this point, that this is more likely to be true than it is to be false. This is just one of many details this whistleblower divulged on the Sean Ryan show, by the way. And of course, many tried dragging them through the mud after divulging such truths, or perhaps, some speculate, that the government actually sent this guy in on purpose to divulge this information. But why would they do that? And it gets even creepier, friends. This is
level.
So now, friends, that's creepy, right? Putting voices in your head and voices in your mind. And if you think this guy's making this up, I've showed you this before, but we got thousands of new members to our tribe that, weren't here when I showed you this in the past. I want you to think about this, friends, because right here is the patent for such technology that you can find for yourself right online under the Google patents. There's a couple of them, but this is one of them. And you see there, a thought transmission unit sends modulated electromagnetic wave beams over distances to a human receiver to influence the thoughts, actions, and perceptions of the organism with or without their consent, but without them requiring an electronic receiver. That's friggin' creepy. That's like really creepy. Goes along with all the other technologies that CIAs and others have used in the past to manipulate people into doing things, crazy things, like attacks that bring fear upon the people. That you hear a lot of these mass pow-pow people. You see a pattern with them all saying the same thing. Not all of them, but I mean a lot of them. That they didn't remember doing it. That they didn't remember being there after being arrested and all. What's that make you think, huh? Makes you wonder. They could do anything. I feel like I have a bug crawling on me. Oh, you will eat the bug. I will not eat the bug. I will not. So really crazy, right, friends? Really, really crazy. The technology is out there. Now, that's beyond creepy. And as I stated, imagine what else they have that would totally blow our minds. And just to prove once again, the naysayers who may scream conspiracy, I just showed you the patents. But when we talk about weather manipulation, check out this list of weather changing or manipulating patents. As you see here, this goes back to 2017. This is a list of 100 U.S. patents related to weather modification. And we can go all the way back to the year 1891 when they first filed a patent for a method to produce rainfall. 1913, another rainmaker. What do we got here? 1915, protecting from poisonous gas warfare. Well, that could be maybe something good in the long run if something like that happened. Airplane, oh, look at this. 1934, airplane spray equipment. Electric steam generator. Smoke producing mixture. Smoke screen generator. Oh, so a smoke screen generator. What are they trying to smoke screen us from? Aerial discharge device. And this is in the 1940s. Now we're moving into the 1950s. Smoke generator. Why so many smoke generators? Let's look at one of them for a minute. Steam generator. I don't know how this has to do with weather modification. Steam generator, filed on July 20th, 1953. This invention relates to a novel steam generator of the water tube type and constitutes the continuation of blah, blah, blah. Don't feel like really going into that, but you get the point here, friends. Let me go back to where I was. Where was I? I wasn't there on clones. There we are. Let's go all the way back down the list to the most recent ones. Let's see. 2013. Charged seed cloud as a method for increasing particle collisions and the scavenging airborne biological agents and other contaminants. Geoengineering method of business using carbon counterbalance credits. Ground-based manipulations and control of aerial vehicle during nullifying operations. Oh, that's creepy. Of course we can't reach that website. Of course not. That's kind of creepy, friends. Ground-based manipulation and control of aerial vehicle during non-flying operations. RFID environmental manipulation. Seawater-based carbon dioxide. The list just goes on and on and on.
I can't believe it. I just can't believe it.
The proof was in the pudding.
The proof is in the pudding. And speaking of weather, I wanted to mention this, the massive storms which we predicted here sweeping through China right now. Look at the footage of things literally blowing in the streets, and China actually had to put out a warning to residents and people that anyone 110 pounds or lighter must stay indoors, or you will blow away. That's crazy, friends. That's how strong this system actually was, tearing apart Beijing and other parts of China. And remember, Spirit says there is currently a small right now, whatever that means, weather conflict that's happening, using technology to bring about massive weather and earth events to enemies. China used it against America. Whether you want to believe it or not, Spirits confirmed that when it all happened. I'll give you a little hint. Lahaina. And it's pretty clear that the United States has likely been using such technology for quite some time. And Spirit says that soon, special technologies are going to be used to bring a massive earthquake activity to China specifically. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to target China with earthquakes. And sadly, this, according to Spirit, is going to end up having a ripple effect because you don't mess with Mother Earth. You do not mess with her. You will piss her off. And when you do, this could literally be the cause of the big coming earthquake and tsunami that's going to hit Japan in early July in the Pacific Ocean. Let's hope not. But we have to keep our eyes to China for earthquake activity. Speaking of earthquake activity, I just saw this morning that there was a 5.2 jolt. And I'm recording this on Monday, by the way. I try to do that on Mondays. It makes my day, Tuesdays, much more stress-free. Gives me actually time to do gardening, of course. So 5.2 jolt shock hit San Diego, California this morning. Another area that Spirit pointed to on the map. And an area as being very vulnerable for a major earthquake in the near future. I remember years ago, my visions of San Francisco. I saw the San Francisco Bridge swing back and forth in visions. I saw something massive hitting Los Angeles with military in the streets, which we did see military in the streets with the big fires that happened in Palisades earlier this year. But this is different. This Spirit still shows me the same similar visions, so this is definitely different. And there is a big one coming, not just for California, but both the northern and the southern coast of the United States. The west coast, of course, but the northwest and the southwest coast of the United States. And remember, regardless, never be scared, friends. Just be prepared. Today's next hot topic is all about the cloning of the ancients. Something very, very strange, friends, that has been playing out over the past week that also, unfortunately, aligns with the prophecy of the indigenous native people who spoke of this time in the future when ancient creatures would roam the earth once again. But what happens then, friends? What happens then, says the natives. Well, says us to the natives. You need to know because an ancient creature has returned to the earth, friends. The cloning of the dire wolf. I love wolves, by the way. One of my big allies and protectors is the wolf and mama bear. But the cloning of the dire wolf. I have one of my siblings, my brother has wolves, real wolves. I don't know if he still does, but I'm pretty sure he still has one. But because this ancient creature, the dire wolf, has returned, the cloning of this dire wolf, the same corporation or company plans to clone other ancient creatures as well. Not all a good sign for humanity, friends. Not a good sign at all. Check out this report, and we'll discuss it afterwards.
It's an animal that hasn't existed for some 13,000 years. The dire wolf, made famous on the television series Game of Thrones. But the long extinct species now making global headlines for a new reason. A Dallas-based biotech company saying they've resurrected the giant Ice Age wolf, essentially bringing it back to life through a process called de-extinction.
Colossal is the world's first de-extinction company, and our goal is to make extinction a thing of the past.
Colossal says they've genetically engineered 3 wolves that they say resemble the dire wolves. The company sharing these videos showing the animals howling as cubs, and here sleeping and running in their habitat at an undisclosed secure location in the U.S.
People think it's a scary word, de-extinction. They immediately put us with Jurassic Park, and it's not. We're trying to develop these new techniques in order to save animals.
Those dire wolves certainly are amazingly beautiful creatures. But they have gone against nature, friends. They have gone against nature. They have gone against God, and they have gone against all odds to bring unnatural creatures back to this unnatural environment. It's not natural for them to thrive. They're not meant to be here anymore. And this is the same sinister company that also plans to clone the woolly mammoth. Remember, that was a story I broke to you at least a year ago. I thought it was longer. I thought it was a few years ago. I thought they did it already. But again, I can't always keep track of time and all the stuff we discuss. But they are now moving forward on this cloning of the woolly mammoth, which, you know, as I tell you all the time, if they're telling us they're going to do it, they already did it. It's already a done deal. They'll let us know, and they'll probably show us old footage. Like that dire wolves, they probably showed us old footage. They probably did this probably over a year ago, probably years ago. Don't be surprised. Spirit told us. They tell us stuff after the fact. When they tell us they're going to do something like go to Mars, it's because they're already on Mars, friends. So they're going to move forward with this cloning of the woolly mammoth, which means they probably already have. And this is of grave concern, friends, in accordance to the Native elders. The Native American prophecies often speak of a time when ancient creatures or beings will return, signaling significant changes or the end of an era. For example, the Hopi prophecy mentions that during the end times, grotesque creatures will walk the earth, marking a period of purification and transformation for humanity. Now, what I believe the Hopi were talking about, grotesque creatures, would be what we're finding more and more out about, like skinwalkers and those that transform from person to animal. Yeah, that's, I think, more what the Hopi were talking about. But there are other native prophecies that talk about ancient creatures roaming the earth again as a sign of the end of times. You're messing with God when you're doing that. With these people that want to make their babies with blue eyes and have this. You do not mess with God. You don't mess with that stuff. You just don't. Just my opinion. Anyway, very bizarre, friends. Very bizarre. Very much against evolution and the process of life. Those creatures lived on this earth during a time when things were absolutely, completely different than they are right now in current times. And they want to release these cloned woolly mammoths when they do it into the Siberian outback, perhaps creating this whole real-time modern-day Jurassic Park. Friends, you got to admit, the devil is definitely behind these very less than smart moves that these companies are making and that the government's letting them do. And if these companies are doing it, you know the government's doing something probably much more darker and much more sinister. Let us move on. Is martial law coming to the United States on Easter Sunday? Well, friends, there's a bunch of talk, a whole bunch of talk, a lot of videos, viral videos. I haven't seen any, but a lot of people have told me, and it's all over TikTok, apparently. I don't go on TikTok. I have an account on there, but I don't really go on there. I don't like those videos are meant to addict you and bring out your dopamine and keep you hooked. Try to unplug from that. Otherwise, you won't ever get any work done. But people are saying that on April 20th, the president of the United States is going to declare martial law. But why are such claims going viral? April 20th, of course, would be Easter Sunday, also known as 420, National Marijuana Day. And a date that I spoke of actually in my past predictions and my April forecast, a date of great significance, April 20th. Don't know why. We'll find out. Doesn't mean it has anything to do with this. Because also in my past predictions, I spoke about future martial law taking place in several countries. We did see this play out soon after in South Korea. Is the United States going to be next? Yeah, I don't think so. First and foremost, and most importantly here, is no, I don't feel like that's the case. There is not going to be the type of martial law being declared on April 20th as some people may speculate. The Insurrection Act and imposing martial law are actually not the same thing, friends. The folks have to kind of educate themselves a little bit on that one. President Trump to declare martial law across the United States on April 20th. All you need to know amid the buzz of the Insurrection Act. Now remember, it was on the 20th that Trump signed an executive order declaring a national emergency at the southern border on Inauguration Day. The document mentions the possibility of using the Insurrection Act as a part of the efforts to gain complete operational control of the southern border. Two different things, friends. Two different things. What is the Insurrection Act of what year was it? 1807. Long time ago. I can't remember that far back. The federal law allows the U.S. president to deploy the military and National Guard to curb unrest and ensure the law is enforced in certain situations. It can override the Posse Comitatus Act, which typically forbids the United States military from taking participation in civilian law enforcement, and gives the president significant power to decide when and where to deploy U.S. troops. It is, however, pertinent to note that the Insurrection Act is not the same as imposition of martial law. So there you have it, right there, friends. It's not the same. It's just not the same. So April 20th, yeah, that's going to definitely be a huge date. But I feel like this is more related to both Europe, Ukraine, Middle East. Although I do feel some other type of major fear attacks or even a pow-pow type of event could play out this coming Sunday. So let's hold in the light that Sunday passes without incident or tragedy. We could even see unfortunate tragedies hitting, churches or religious institutions on Sunday. Let's hold in the light that doesn't happen. I do see and I do feel martial law being called in several countries, as I have felt earlier this year. And again, South Korea fulfilled that prediction pretty soon after. Spirit says there is more to come, and eventually there will be martial law in the United States, likely under the rule of our current president, or whoever takes his throne when he passes, which I still feel is going to happen in 2027. So let's hope none of that happens, and I'll remind you of the illuminated cards that I've showed you that seem to very clearly predict the future. There's a card of martial law for the United States in those cards. And, not all those cards have come true, but most of them have, which means the rest of them probably will too, sometime in the not far off future. Moving on to our other huge hot topic of the week, tariff drama. Don't want no drama. No drama. We have more tariff drama, of course. More tariff U-turns taking place, while China resists by fighting back, and all while both China and Japan together start doing a major dumping of American bonds. Not so good for America. And that might not be good for Japan and China in the future either. And it's not looking very good at all for the economy, friends. Not at all. Unless you got silver and gold, then it's looking good for you. But especially here in the United States. But even China, their economy is going to be tanking too. While, again, gold is now once again at an all-time high. Silver is right behind it. And I warned last year that this would be a very bad year for markets and the collapsing of economies. I told you that, and I warned you that it was coming. And here we are. It was even in my forecast for the year. Now in China, the ports have become completely jammed up with goods. Yeah, I saw some video of it that people in China posted. I mean, there's so much stuff. It's so backed up their ports and nothing's moving. No ships are going towards the United States. And, the United States buys 1/3 of all their goods. 1/3. That's a lot. So that's 1/3 of China's economy that is paid for by Americans. Because Americans are the first ones to open up their wallets and buy stuff they don't need. A whole bunch of stuff they don't need. And China makes a whole bunch of stuff you don't need. Just saying. So now we see, it's a bad year for sure. They're jammed up at ports, and it looks like China is going to be eating a lot of their own stuff, garbage goods. Now, of course, the president did another U-turn on the tariffs with iPhones and selected electronics. Bet you Apple probably paid for that one. Oh, drop the tariffs, we'll pay you. Because, it caused the markets to drop. I told you this was going to happen. They do this. They've been doing this since the administration came in. Do something, make the markets drop. They come in, they invest all their money, and then the markets go back up again, and they make millions. And I told you that they were doing this all on purpose while cashing in big time. Pelosi did it. We know that, and got away with it. And if she did it, so did everybody else that was in that White House administration at her side, along with, everybody in that White House. And now that's why they go in, like Obama went in making, 100-some thousand a year and now made millions. How's that possible? How's that possible? Well, we know how. And the current administration is now actually bragging about it. At least Nancy didn't brag about it. But they're bragging about it. Check this out.
It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million.
So there you have it, friends. They made millions, and the president bragged about it. This guy made millions. Schwab, of all people. Another one of the devil's minions. And millions of Americans at the same time have watched their 401ks drop like flies on honey. Not good. And I told you these systems are fixed to benefit the select few oligarchs cashing in on Americans and other countries as well. Sickening, in my opinion. Even more sickening is this clip right here that's going viral. And I warn my fellow Americans, this clip could likely cause you to vomit in your own mouth. Give a listen.
Hello from China. Let me show you the United States products in my home. Nothing. Do you have something from China in your home?
But look at you. You might not own any American goods, but you sure are speaking English now, aren't you? Funny. And this should make every American be very, very mindful the next time you go out to purchase goods in any store that say made in China on the bottom of it. While China is suffering greatly with goods that more Americans, again, buy than any other country in the world. And now they got 1/3 of that stuff just sitting there. And we take, again, 1/3 of their trade goods. Much of those goods are made very, very cheaply. They fall apart very, very quickly. They don't last. And if you order something from China, it take you 3 months to get it, like Temu. 3 months if you're lucky. People are addicted to that app and they're addicted to their garbage. And it is. I got sucked into it once. Never again. And it was literally, I felt like I got a bag of garbage. And it's bringing down China's economy for sure. And this is going to make China very, very desperate. And desperate countries and companies, both, desperate companies and countries, do very less than smart things like cause aggression or even start conflicts. Let's hope this all settles down soon, friends. But sadly, I don't see this being the case. This is all part of what the billionaire bankers want. The Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and all those folks. This is what they want. This is their plan. The United Nations, Bush and his NWO. This is a part of what the billionaire bankers want. A great reset. And they chose Donald Trump to be the guy that makes it all happen. Whether he might not realize it, but they chose him to be the one to collapse the economy or to collapse it while he's in power, the country, and then turn around, of course, and blame it all on him. When really it was an agenda that was in place for a very long time. All the way back to old man Bush talking about it. So it's all part of an agenda. And when it's really those in the shadows, friends. It's those in the shadows that are pulling the strings, as they have been doing for many, many generations, probably more than we can imagine. It's all just a huge part of this Matrix theater show that often turns into a horror film from time to time. And we're coming out of that. The world is shifting. And we feel it, we know it, we want it, and we are shifting dimensions. We are shifting. Knowledge and wisdom is going to come flowing in, and all of this is going to change. But again, you got to remember, it's a window of time, that 7-year window of time that Spirit gave me back in 2016, 2025 to 2032. We're in it, friends. And this is already beginning to fulfill, also the tariff things, already beginning to fulfill my past predictions, warning of major shortages that would come, economic woes that would come, and folks having to actually literally line up in line for foods and rations. We haven't seen that yet, thankfully, but it is coming, especially during the winter months coming up, says Spirit. And we will, and not necessarily America, just saying in general. And we're going to soon see this playing out in other parts of Europe. That's probably where we're going to see people lining up for food first, parts of Europe. Another point that I want to make here is the push I discussed in the past to make North America a large union. Remember I had the visions that I had, and this goes back a long time ago too, at least 10 years ago, where I saw the United States splitting up into separate parts and kind of like, and then coming together. It's like almost like, I can't even explain it. It's like states breaking apart, things being separated, including bringing in Canada and Mexico. And this goes back again at least 10 years ago in past predictions and visions. Kind of like creating it like the EU, friends, just like the EU. Something that, again, I talked about, Elon Musk's grandfather pushed for, and he got it, the European Union. And it is perhaps, again, probably at least a decade ago, when I saw United States breaking apart into separate unions. Some states I saw breaking away from the system completely. Remember my vision of seeing a star fall off the flag. Unless it's California falling in the water. It's just some humor. I mean, it's possible. I'm sure parts of it will still exist. But that's not coming for a little while anyway, too. So some states breaking from the system completely. And I stated that the globalists want to destroy borders. They don't want borders. That's why they opened up the borders here. They don't want borders. They want to bring everybody together and mix everybody together into one big old bunch as one big entity, and then push us into cities where they can control us better and get rid of those that are in the way. Trump is the guy they want to bring about this large American union. That's why they pushed Elon into the whole mix. That's exactly why. And I recommend that you do your own little research. Go down that whole Musk rabbit hole and look up Musk's grandfather. And you will be up to speed on this truth of what they are actually pushing and the agenda they have for their Great Reset and their NWO. In other news today, I have some list of predictions for you as well. I also have a channeled prediction video that will be released on Thursday. But in other news, a Christian preacher was kidnapped in Africa by gunpoint. Remember what I talked about with attacks on churches and attacks on leaders and preachers? And I saw a takedown, like Martin Luther King takedown, of a big-time preacher. And I told you that there were big attacks. I think it was last week or the week before a show, we talked about the attacks on religion and religious structures that are already happening across the globe. And now you see in Africa, they literally took this guy by gunpoint. And I haven't kept up with the story at all, other than knowing that it happened. And a sad story indeed. But this is what we're going to see playing out. This is the devil himself coming in to attack, everything and everyone. Doesn't matter what you believe. Even the spiritual people and the spiritual communities. That's what it says. But we're going to see more stories like this with preachers being kidnapped or being taken down or being harmed in some way or another. Spirit shows me visions of people going into a church and igniting it on fire, breaking in and igniting it. I'm not sure where this is, but I feel like this will happen multiple times in multiple places coming up in the near future. And again, as I told you in the past, I see a big takedown of a big-time preacher. This would be somebody big like Joel Osteen. I don't follow preachers. He's the only big name I know of, and he's creepy in my opinion. Very, very creepy. Very, very creepy. God gives me the willies. I don't know who it is, but this is a time where we're already seeing these predictions come into fruition with attacks on religious leaders and such. So it's here, friends. It's happening. The other thing that's happening is that tragic helicopter crash, more plane incidents, and the world that continues to seem to keep going mad each and every day. That tragic helicopter accident that occurred over, the Hudson in New York City? Now, I had people leaving comments and what have you that, somebody important was on there. He was the CEO. That would make sense to my past predictions. I told you, the fall of leaders, the fall of CEOs, and even the takeout of leaders and CEOs. People being taken out. So some people speculate that this guy was taken out because he was the CEO. I don't get that vibe at all. I get the simple vibe that it was a tragic accident and nothing more than that. And sad that his wife and kids were on that plane, that helicopter with him. We saw another plane crash in Boca Raton, Florida. And what was the new one I just saw today? Where was the other one? There was another one. They were smaller planes, but still happening. Now, I had some visions of something coming with planes in my meditations I did 3 separate meditations over the weekend. So you'll get that later. Now, another thing that just happened, too, is the governor, Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, my home state, had an arsonist break in and ignite his home on fire, as we are being told. I don't believe anything media tells us. Just by the way, I take everything like a grain of salt. I'm sure it happened. They showed the house, but something definitely happened. Whatever happened, it's absolutely, totally wrong. Like awful. How awful. Now, of course, there'll be those conspiracy theorists that'll say that he did it himself. Maybe he did. I don't get that vibe at all. I get the vibe that it was an attack, a senseless attack. But at the same time, this just props him up even higher for his run for president in the next presidential election because he will be running. He ain't going to make it, but he will be running, just to let you know. And this goes back to what I said, attacks on leaders, CEOs, and so forth being taken down. I said that right before we saw the whole healthcare person in New York, that whole thing that happened, Brian Thompson, I believe it was. So that prediction goes back before that. So it's happening. We're seeing this. It's sad. It's tragic. And especially like his family and kids were in that house. What the hell is wrong with people? But that's the darkness thing. People get obsessed. They get all this darkness within them and they have no reaction. No control. They can't control themselves. Sad. Anyway, some visions and predictions I had over the past weekend. Starting with, I see some type of strange events playing out around public pools. I don't know what it is, but it felt very toxic to me. As if the waters in the swimming pool were tainted in some way. And I saw signs as if I was going to the pool, with my family, and I got to the pool, and there was big signs that says, pool closed. So I don't know where this is, but I feel like this is something that's happening all over the place. Shark attacks will be on the rise once again this year. Places such as Florida, the Caribbean, off the coast of New Zealand and Australia, and strange shark attacks that are going to start occurring in the most unlikely places. This is just an example. Like, say a shark attack, off the coast of New Jersey or New York. You never hear of that. I'm from there. Never heard of such a thing. And if you did, it's super rare. But all of a sudden it happens. It's just an example. I'm not saying that's happening, even though it probably will now that I just said that. I see a major amount of fish washing up on coastlines. I see fish washing upon the shores of Japan, China, and mainly that part of the globe, the Asian continent. While I also feel that there's going to be similar concerns that arise along the coast of California and Oregon, the coast of Chile, and other strange fish activity and strange fish behavior. Now, we saw this with whales. randomly attacking boaters and such, a few years back. So that would be strange activity and behavior. So things like that. Maybe even the shark prediction relating to odd behavior with sharks. Something strange and something to keep an eye on. And very often when the fish are washing ashore, not always, but very often, it signifies that there's some type of a big Earth event that's going to come in the near future, usually an earthquake. Now, I strongly feel that some type of epidemic or pandemic is coming back to China. I see this spreading out. I saw a vision of tents being set up with sick people. I saw respiratory stresses. Could this actually be a biological attack? It was just a thought that popped into my brain, because we know the truth now behind what happened the last time. And I feel like this could actually be the case on some sort. So that is the question. Attack or natural? And I feel this could be a few years out. I don't feel like necessarily it's this year. 2029 would make the most sense, because 2029 is a 4 vibrational year, just like 2020 was. So that would make the most sense, at least when it comes to numbers. But I also would not at all rule out that this could happen in the latter part of 2025, taking us into 2026. Let's hope that's not the case at all. Phil Collins came to my mind multiple times over the past week. Phil Collins. And I like Phil Collins. I don't really listen to Phil Collins, but I mean, if it came on, I would probably sing along to it. But I was never like a huge Phil Collins fan, but I always liked Phil Collins, if that makes any sense. But for him to pop up in my mind randomly over and over the past week, this makes me feel that we will be seeing Phil Collins in the news sometime in the near future. Now, I looked it up, and Phil is only 74 years old. It's really not that old nowadays. He also resides in his 4 personal year in the realm of numerology, which could sometimes bring about health mindfulness. Kind of like, again, 2020 was a 4 vibration. We had to be very mindful of our health and not getting that bug. Now, sometimes people do pass in their 4 year. It's not always. 9 is more common. It is a 9 universal year on the planet Earth. And the 4 year, I know Queen Elizabeth passed in her 4 year. So, hope Phil hangs on much longer, but my feelings say differently. I had a disturbing vision of this man somehow breaking into a school's door. The door was locked. School was in session, so they keep their doors locked. It's a good thing. I also saw in the vision, I saw him with a can of spray paint reaching up and spray painting the security cameras, blotching them out. And I felt that he held all this anger, hatred, and evil, as if like he felt possessed to me. Likely it was the case. He's possessed in some form or another. Whether it's a demon or the CIA, I don't know. He enters into the school, and he had several different weapons on him, and he began to use them amongst the little ones attending that school. That morning, it was in the morning. It felt like it was in the morning to me. And I felt like I was somewhere here out west in the United States, maybe not far from where I am. So perhaps Arizona. What else would be nearby? New Mexico, Utah, or Colorado? Maybe one of those. A very, very large pow event. And this feels kind of huge to me. It reminded me of the whole Columbine thing that happened. But it feels worse, much worse. This man has some type of an explosive on him as well. What we could do is hold in the light that this man gets caught before anything ever plays out. We can only hope and see that in the light. And as much as I hate to be the bearer of bad news, I feel that many attacks are coming, mostly on younger people. You know, that's the whole fentanyl thing. You know, China pumped that out on purpose and pumped it into our country. Why? To take out the younger generation. So there's nowhere to fight. And I'm sure that we can't even blame one country. It's probably the globalists, actually. The puppeteers that pumped this all out on purpose. Because, you know, and then there's nobody to fight back, right? Again, just a thought. But I feel many attacks are coming on younger people. And years ago, I predicted there'd be a pow event, you know, taking place at a music festival. Do you remember that prediction? If you've been here with me long enough, you do remember, because it sadly did play out on that very tragic October day in Israel. And I feel something similar. A similar event is being planned. But I feel, again, that I'm either in the United States or maybe in Europe or maybe both places. Now, I know Coachella is happening right now. Looks like a lot of fun. I would have been at those events. I was at Woodstock 94, never forget it, one of the best times of my life. But Coachella is having a lot of issues already. Let's hope it's not that. And I don't know. It might have ended by now because it's now Monday. I don't know if it was just the weekend. I don't know how long Coachella lasts. But it would be something big like that. It kind of reminded me of a cross between what happened in my last prediction that played out on that tragic October date. Makes me feel like the whole Las Vegas thing that happened here years ago that was the worst of all events. It feels big like that, maybe even bigger. Let's hope not. And I would think United States, but it feels like it could be multiple places. And that's what I have, other than the fact that I also have an action-packed video of channeled predictions coming up for you. Over the weekend, I did 3 separate meditations. I still got to edit it. I don't know how long it'll be. By the time I edit it down, because each of my meditations is 30 to 40 minutes long, it takes me a little bit to get into the meditation and so forth, but I'll edit it down. It's full of predictions. This will be released this coming Thursday. Here is a sneak peek at these predictions. I see a vision of 2 planes colliding in midair. One does a sharp turn, almost sideways, still causing the wings to clip each other, causing one plane to explode more than the other plane. The way this plays out in my vision, I would imagine that there is good video that will be released of this plane incident. I believe this happens over the United States. I'm in Russia, and I see a motorcade that looks and reminds me of a presidential motorcade. I see one of the vehicles explode, flips over like a Hollywood movie. I hear lots of gunfire. I hear chaos. I see people protecting people. Is this an attack on Putin? But Putin's not there. Definitely a targeted attack. Someone shoots from high up in the building after the explosion. This will ignite some type of new conflict or will intensify the current conflict. A strong part of me, spirit makes me feel, a strong part of me feels that this is connected to Ukraine and NATO. So if you're new here and you want to catch those predictions thoroughly on Thursday evening, be sure to smash that subscribe, the bell and all, so that you get notifications. Keep an eye out for it. And moving on to the last part of today's show, you've got mail. And I did get some mail that I want to share with you beautiful friends today because I am so blessed that people go out of their way to send me things. Starting with my friends Stephen and Marianne over there in Las Vegas, Nevada. Speaking of Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas. Now, Stephen and Marianne are darling people. Stephen is one of my master's class students. Sent me this wonderful box of stuff that I'm about to reveal to you all. I heard you mention something about you need to look for new salt. This salt I've been using for many years. It's a salt from the ancient oceans millions of years ago. I hope you like it. This is ancient fine sea salt. Perfect for everyday use. Made in America. Made in America. Oh, mined in America. I can read. All right. I know I do use sea salt all the time. I actually put salt in my water for the, electrolytes. I use Celtic sea salt. But when I run out, I'll use this because it looks like it's just as good. You got to watch that pink salt, friends, because you know that pink salt they're finding contains a lot of heavy metals. Surprise there. No surprise there. So I've discovered the Celtic sea salt's really high in minerals, and this might be too, actually. Ancient fine sea salt. What else did Mr. Stephen and Marianne say? Second item is apple spread jam. Marianne found at Trader Joe's. Marianne's so freaking cute. Thank you, Marianne. You're cute, Marianne. And then third is Japanese marshmallow made by Calpico. Now, I already had one of these, of course, because I can't say no to sweets. And they're actually really delicious. And they're not just marshmallows. They actually have something in the center. Oh, shoot, I just dripped it all over the place. Oh, darn. All right, I'll eat that when we're done. Put that over there. Now there's sticky stuff everywhere. Oh, darn. But they're really delicious anyway. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Marianne. Love you guys. I hope you're doing really good over there in Vegas. You got to come visit me soon. I had another one here. What's this other one? There's no return address. Return to sender with 40 spot. Oh, look at that cash falling on my lap. From Tarot Girl in Canada. I guess she don't want us to know who she is. Other than the Tarot Girl in Canada. Just want to say I love your YouTube channel. Here's a little something for you and your time and effort. And you can just say on your channel that you got it. Just so you know. Yes, I got it. Thank you, dear Tarot Girl in Canada. I appreciate you. Love and gratitude. This is a beautiful card of dolphins. I love dolphins. I swam with the dolphins over there in Mexico many years ago, 2012 to be exact, sending all kinds of smiles your way. Much love and blessings, Liana. With this long, what's this? No, I can't read all that. I don't have glasses on to read that. My name is Tina. My mother and I watch you on YouTube. She is 90 years old with mild dementia, and I take care of her. Oh, well, God bless you for that. Would you please take a moment to read this and ask your guides? It would be mutual benefit to connect. Okay, that's really long, and I can't do that. I'll read it and address it again later, but thank you. And then that came from Intiana's message to me. She was asking about the healing centers of the future, and I did a video on the future Earth. Future healing centers. Asking again if we're working together. I have no clue, darling. All I know is it's not time yet. And I know that I'm going back to Peru this year. Hopefully I will receive more information about it when I'm working with Mama Ayahuasca. That's the goal. That's why I'm going there. Look at all this fun froggy stuff that somebody just sent me from, is this from Australia? Where was this from? This is from Australia. I love it. I really want to go down under sometime. I make the paper, but someone else did the painting. She wax coated this and everything. Wax coated it. I haven't seen anybody do that in forever. This is a 3-page, very long letter that I am not going to be able to read. Again, I cannot read super long letter. I will read it myself when we're done. But I cannot read all this live. It will make the video way too long. But what's this cute card here? Frog Safe Incorporated. Deborah. Australia. For our friends in Australia. Because look at this cool frog stuff. I love frogs. As a matter of fact, I just heard the frog outside chirping. Next door, and I don't know why next door, there's no pond over there. The pond's in my front yard. Come over here, frogs. I've been calling the frogs bird life. Some little bookmarkers. Look, magnets. I collect magnets, actually, by the way. From all the places I go when I visit, I grab a magnet. That magnet is so freaking cute. That frog. I will be taking that and putting that on my refrigerator. Wait, and I forgot to read who sent this to me. My apologies. I love this paper that you used. Deborah. That's right. Duh, I did read it on the business card. Look at this. This is really cool. This is something you got to frame. Hang in there. Hang in there. Isn't that cute? Did you draw this? Yeah, no, you said someone else drew this. That is gorgeous. This is so cute. So freaking cute. I can't read that on the pink paper. Sorry for the... Don't be sorry about anything. What do you mean sorry? Look at this cool calendar. Wildlife calendar. I don't have a calendar, actually. None at all. I usually use my computer. But I will definitely hang this up. Deborah, thank you for the adorable frogs. I love frogs. I love all of nature. And I love all of you. I really thank you so much. And I'll read this as soon as I'm done this recording. There, Deborah and Tiana. Thank you all so much for going out of your way to send me these things, especially from Australia, because I know to ship something from here to Australia is not cheap. So I really appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you and all the contributors who make this free content possible for everybody else. Couldn't do it without you. I appreciate you with infinite love and gratitude. Please be sure to hit that thumbs up love button so we can get this out to other people. And if you just subscribe to the channel, welcome to the tribe, baby. We're here each and every Tuesday, so be sure to always check the channel if you don't get notifications by Wednesday. And be sure to tune in on Thursday for the meditations I did over the weekend and the predictions that will be packed into that content Thursday. Until the next time, friends, remember, be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Let your light shine ever so brightly. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste, and much love, friends. Much love.